and today I'm going to be talking about the 2017 reboot of The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise. Now, right off the bat, I knew this movie was going to suck, in my opinion, from day one, but I'm very disappointed to see how many similarities there are between this film and the Brendan Fraser flick, the 1999 movie that I'm a big fan of. That's one of my favorite creature feature films. So this one, I can't say I was disappointed because I had no anticipation, but man, I got to reiterate, I really think this movie sucks. And I think this is one of Tom Cruise's worst performances. I'm a fan of him as an actor. I love a good amount of his films, and people kill me for this, but my favorite performance from Tom is Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder. But The Mummy, I gotta say, this is some of his worst work, and it feels like, what is Tom Cruise even doing picking a film like this? Like, the script is nonsensical. It borrows way too much from the previous Mummy films, and not really in a good way. I can give a couple examples right off the bat, and one of them, the first one that made me groan, is where we see a face in the sand that represents the mummy buried underground, just like the Brendan Fraser flick. So I'm like, okay, that's one big similarity. And then later on in the movie, they pretty much show the exact same book, of the Book of the Dead, with the thing where you have to put the thing on the book and unlock it. It's the exact same book in the Brendan Fraser flick. Now, the main big difference is we're following a female mummy instead of a male mummy like Imhotep. And honestly, I think Sofia Boutella, however you say her last name, my apologies if I'm saying it wrong, I really don't care for her performance here. I don't think she's threatening. I don't think she's scary. Not one bit in this film. And maybe that's the director to blame, because I also think that the other performances, like for Tom Cruise, for example, I think are horrible. And Courtney B. Vance, who I think is another great actor, I felt he was very over the top in this film as well. And also Russell Crowe, I think he's very over the top here, and not in a good way, playing Dr. Jekyll. You know, whenever he doesn't inject himself with the serum, he transforms into this murderous monster. And this movie just makes me sigh and cringe and groan. The character of Nick is pretty much in this stupid gaze the entire film by this curse from Amunet, and she's saying, "Come to me, you are my chosen." And he's pretty much caught in this trance for like the majority of his screen time. He doesn't do much in this film. His character is supposed to be stealing special artifacts with his buddy Jake Johnson. When I really think about it, yeah, he has a couple action sequences here and there, but he's really on autopilot in this film, in my opinion. He's really cardboard. The biggest problem I might have is the overuse of CGI. You're telling me we have a big star like Tom Cruise, who actually does a lot of practical work in a lot of his other films, like Top Gun Maverick, for example, or even Top Gun. And to see Tom Cruise in such a CGI, computer-generated written film where there might be no practical effects at all in this movie as far as action pieces go, or even monster design, because there's just so much distracting CGI in this movie that it just made me groan from left to right. I really hated it, especially when we're seeing cars flipping over Tom Cruise's head 2 inches above his head that should kill him, or a bus is smashing into him and he's able to maneuver right through it and not have a scratch or a piece of glass stuck in his face. It was really, really unbearable, I have to admit. We also have the love interest, Jenny, played by Annabelle Wallace, I believe, and her character as well. I'm supposed to care for her and Tom Cruise as a couple or as a pairing, but they had a one-night stand together and they don't really know each other that well. Tom Cruise steals the map from her, but I don't care about these two, honestly, as a couple. And I'm supposed to believe that he's fighting and rooting for her till the very end. And spoilers if you want to see this movie. And I'm supposed to believe that he's willing to sacrifice himself to become a monster for this woman that he barely knows. It was very, whatchamacallit, this movie really frustrated me. Now, I really like Jake Johnson as an actor. I think he's really good with comedic timing and even some of his dramatic work as well. But I felt he was severely wasted here as Tom Cruise's buddy, because a majority of his screen time, he's playing, spoilers, he's playing the dead ghost that's threatening Tom Cruise's character, Nick, and pretty much saying, oh, you're cursed and you have to break us both out of this curse, or we're both going to suffer. And the whole movie's kind of guiding him towards the lady mummy Omninet, but and pretty much using him. But then at the end of the film, Tom Cruise is able to resurrect his dead buddy and have him travel through the sands for the rest of God knows what. I hated it. I hated it because I really like Jake Johnson, and at first I liked what the first 10 or 20 minutes of his screen time. I'm like, okay, cool. I like him being the buddy, but then they kill him off so quickly, man. And just to resurrect him at the end, I just thought it was like, If I have any positives about this film, maybe some of the set design that's used here and there is pretty decent. Especially when we see the area that Omninet is buried underneath, and then the character Jenny says this is basically a prison where the chains are holding the mummy down. But wrapping it up, the 2017 adaptation of The Mummy, I think, contains very wooden performances all across the board. Pretty bland direction. Action sequences aren't very impressive, and we have a very non-memorable lead villain with the lady mummy Omninet, played by Sofia Boutella. And in my opinion, this movie just didn't do it for me. It's not one of my favorite reboots or remakes. In fact, I would probably put it somewhere bottom of the barrel. Is this movie absolutely trash? I wouldn't say so, but I think it's pretty close to it, if that makes any sense. I'm going to give the 2017 version of The Mummy a 3 out of 10. And that's it, y'all. It's your boy Fro. What do you think about this flick? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you like it more than I did? Do you hate it about the same amount as I did? Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. In the meantime, between time, I'm on to the next review. And thank you guys for watching. I'm out. Peace. I forgot to mention, there's another Mummy movie coming out next year, 2026, directed by Lee Cronin, who also directed Evil Dead Rise recently. And my anticipation isn't really that much high, because we're in the time period right now where there are an abundance of sequels, reboots, and remakes. There's literally a flooding market of it. Hopefully this next Mummy movie coming up is better than this Tom Cruise flick. I'll give it that. But I'm out. Thank you guys. Peace.